All right, so this is our third section. You just finished the scavenger hunt. What I'd like for you to do as we move into the step 3 is just pause to open up that curriculum guide for your first topic one more time. It'll be helpful to have that to reference. So as I walk through this part with you, I'll have some screenshots up, but you might be wondering, what does this look like for the grade level that you teach and what your first topic looks like? Okay. So first up, we're talking about our scheduling tenets and instructional guidelines. This is a document that provides clarity regarding what is expected at each school and aligns to the CMS way, what matters most, and we are ready documents. All of this can be accessed using the bit.ly and QR code that you see here on the bottom of your screen. In these tenets and guidelines, there is a part for elementary math that outlines implementation expectations as well as a few other details. So we are using the Envision curriculum. We're going to be going through a lesson sequence very shortly around that will show you as a 3rd through 5th grade math teacher what that structure, what that time would look like if you were allotted 90 minutes. We know that some of you might have more than that much time, less than that much time. So we want to keep that in mind. And depending on your school's instructional focus, there might be slight variations in how your math block is structured. So knowing that, when you have your curriculum guide open, I want you to find this lesson sequence. This is the first thing that we're going to do. So if you need a pause to find this slide, it's at the beginning of the curriculum guide. Then take a moment and pause to access this slide. Okay, so we're looking at our lesson sequence. What are some things that are coming to mind? What are you noticing? What are you noticing about the components and their titles, the amount of time allotted for each of those components, which of course is just guidance for you. So we're going to go through the sequence one section at a time and hopefully answer some of the wonderings that you might have as you're just glancing over this document. Okay, so we're going to start with our daily routine, which is the first box in our lesson sequence. So the first box reads daily routines, about 10 minutes. We want to engage students in a daily routine as a scaffold that will enable all students to access grade level content and future topics. So an important note here is that the daily routine may be completed at the beginning of your core instruction, in between some of these other steps like 6 and 7, or outside of the math block, and it really depends on your school's master schedule. So we want you to think about how a daily routine can live in your math block in lots of different places during your math block, or it could live outside of your math block, especially if you are not departmentalized. You may have a little greater flexibility with that, but we're especially excited to share our resources around daily routines with you, because we love the opportunities that this component can bring to the classroom in order to build community, but also to build students' thinking around a wide range of ideas in math, including fluency, number sense, flexibility, and accuracy. You can find the link for the daily routine for each day's lesson in the curriculum guide. So you see it here at the top of the lesson notes for this lesson, and this is in 4th grade. So the daily routine link, it will take you directly to that day's routine on a larger slide deck that you can use with students. Okay, so if I am to click on where's the point, which is the daily routine that's outlined here for this lesson in 4th grade, it's going to take me directly to this slide, which is a student-facing slide. You can see that there's a visual here to help support students thinking about the routine and the tasks. Teacher notes are usually given at the bottom of the slide, and those are just there to guide the conversation around the important math for that routine. If the routine is new to you and you'd like more information about how to implement it in the classroom, there's an image in the upper right-hand corner. For 4th grade, it's a question mark, and for other grade levels, it might look different. But if you click right there, you'll be sent to a teacher slide, which explains how to implement this routine in the classroom. And if we were lucky enough to find a video where you might be able to view it being used in the classroom live, we've included a video there too. So you can always go back to the teacher notes to help you understand how to implement these daily routines. And so this has been an additional resource that's added this year. So just some final notes about daily routines. You can find these in the individual lesson notes, which are in step 3 of your curriculum guide. They're intentionally planned to follow scope and sequence that provide daily opportunities for students to develop lots of important math skills and strategies, and they shouldn't last any more than 10 minutes. Now we're going to move on to the next component of our lesson structure, which is called the solve and share. So this follows right after the daily routine. Our students are now, their brains are warmed up to math. They've been doing some mathematical thinking. As we jump into the solve and share, take a moment and read the box that you see on your screen for the second component called solve and share. And I want you to notice what's coming up for you. It might be questions and it might be noticings. So you might notice that this is a launch, explore, discuss format where teachers are launching the task. We're giving students time to solve it on their own or with a partner, and then we're talking about the strategy students use to solve the task. We have a lot of support for you in order to implement this well in your classroom. So as you're exploring your first curriculum guide, it's really important to be looking at any of the notes in the curriculum guides, the resources, all of these things that have been developed in order to ensure students are experiencing this launch, explore, discuss lesson model as it's aligned to the standard course of study for North Carolina. So read carefully any notes that we see that may give you information that's very important about adaptations, CMS created lessons, and any other supports that are created to ensure the curriculum is standards aligned. So for example, you'll notice here that the solve and share video for this lesson in 5th grade is an envision task. However, the next task, which is called the try this and the visual learning bridge, are CMS videos. And the notes here are going to give you more information about why that is. Okay, so we wanted to share this with everyone because all teachers, K-5, are going to experience these kind of supporting resources and adaptations through the year. So it's really important to read these lesson notes. You could also access our lesson slides that include the solve and share tasks like what you see here on your screen, key student strategies to look for and highlight student discussion questions, and connections that can be made within in between strategies. These slide decks are linked in the topic folders in Math Rocks, and the videos are linked in the curriculum guides. Those highlight these important ideas in action. So if you want to see the solve and share in action in a virtual setting, feel free to check out the videos. If you want to use the slide decks in your classroom, feel free to access those in Math Rocks. All right, it's time to go on to our next component. And our next component is the try this problem, which we will link to the visual learning bridge. That's what VLB stands for. So let's take a moment and just read the box that we see on our screen. So the try this problem, you might be noticing, is related to the solve and share. However, we are bridging for students what they know to some new strategies. So the purpose of this component is to give students an opportunity to productively struggle in this try this task before we move into instruction in the visual learning bridge. These problems build on students' knowledge. It's affirming what students already know that they might have used to solve the solve and share problem. So just giving students a chance to work on these problems even briefly prior to instruction gives students a sense of where instruction is going and what the important math is to connect their new learning to. So just as with the solve and share task, there might be adaptations to the try this task in order to better align with the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. So once again, it's important to view the notes, check out the slide deck, and here in the lesson notes, you might view the video to see how this try this has been launched in a classroom. And remember that the slide decks for this can be found in the topic folder in Math Rocks. So the solve and share and the try this problem are related. So on your screen, you see an example from one 5th grade lesson of what the solve and share looks like and what the try this problem looks like. The reason why it's important for us to use these slide decks with the problems is that our curriculum provides the try this problem and the visual learning bridge explanations and strategies all on the same page for students. And if we want them to productively struggle in the problem and think about what they know and how they will solve the problem, we might use a slide deck instead to present the try this problem to them without seeing all of that other information on the page first. So separating out the try this problem from the visual learning bridge teaching allows students to enter into the problem without any pre-existing notions about how they're expected to solve. They're going to use what they know first, and that gives us an amazing amount of useful information as students start the task. Okay, so let's talk about this visual learning bridge. So 9 minutes allotted for this component of the lesson sequence. We're going to use this to recap and solidify student thinking in the previous parts of the lesson. So teachers in this part are going to help build deep understanding through the use of visual models and student discussions in order to help students connect that prior knowledge that surfaced during the solve and share and the try this problem, which may provide some opportunities for productive struggle. The notes and slide decks shared in your curriculum highlight these important practices. You might also notice that the slide decks include additional tasks or tasks that have been adapted, like the one you see here that says CMS. These better fit and align to the North Carolina Standard Course of Study, making the curriculum guide once again a very important resource that you'll be using this year. So we know that the visual learning bridge is used to solidify the learning from the solve and share and the try this. And then it's an opportunity to connect new strategies, concepts, and skills to prior knowledge. You can access the videos that show the visual learning bridge teaching points in action through the curriculum guide, and you can access the slide decks in the topic folder in Math Rocks. And the fifth component of the lesson sequence is called the Convince Me problem. This problem can be used as an exit ticket to form small groups, and after this part, students have had 3 opportunities to explain what they know, and we've had opportunities as teachers to observe what they know and what misconceptions are happening. So we can use the information from this Convince Me to inform small group instruction. The bottom part of the lesson sequence is all about advancing student learning, ways that we differentiate instruction in order to meet the needs of all of the learners in our classrooms. We can use the Convince Me, our observations from the solve and share and the visual learning bridge, and data points that we have from pre-existing assessments in order to drive the teaching points for our small group instruction. Let's look at some resources developed in CMS to support you during this block of time this year. For advancing student learning, we've developed weekly fluency sheets, choice boards, and for 3rd through 5th grade, we also have memory joggers that are all located in step 4 of your curriculum guide to support you and students during this differentiated instructional block. We also have a really important component called advancing student learning. This step in the curriculum guide highlights the big ideas students will learn during the topic that many students have misconceptions around, and steps we can take to support students, and resources, tasks, lessons, manipulatives, and teaching points. All of those things are coming together and advancing student learning to support you while you're teaching these small groups.